Good afternoon, Shavua Tov. Welcome everybody to the Israel Brief, the first one of the year, sponsored by Lay of the Land. And I'm delighted to wish you all a happy, a healthy and a prosperous 2021. May it be a great year for all of us. And as you know, we bring you the news straight from Israel and the surrounds every Monday to Thursday on this very platform, and also on our YouTube channel, where you can find us at the Israel Brief. And all you have to do to get your daily dose of the Israel Brief is click on the big red subscribe button. So let's get into it. Let's look at those top stories making headlines. And this week marks the 1-year anniversary since the assassination of Iranian Revolutionary Guard General Qasem Suleimani. Suleimani was known as the mastermind behind many terror attacks, and Iran still is the world's largest state sponsor of terror. Israel is on high alert for any kind of reprisal attacks, as is the United States. Now, the United Arab Emirates have announced that they have arrested an Iranian cell and are still investigating whether or not this cell planned terror attacks on visiting Israeli tourists or businessmen. But we remain on high alert for any kind of possible retaliation. And let's look now to the other big story making headlines, and that is the COVID-19 pandemic, but also Israel's lead in vaccination. We are now officially vaccination nation and lead the world in making sure that our citizens are vaccinated. In fact, over the weekend, Israel's 1 millionth citizen received their vaccine, a little bit of a faux pas when the person who received that and was celebrated in the media was discovered to be a criminal. However, it is proof that Israel vaccinates all our citizens. It doesn't matter which sector of society you come from, or if you have done something truly dodgy in your past. So to date, 12% of the population has received their vaccine. That is 1.2 million. And at the moment, or as soon as next week, we will be pausing the vaccine rollouts for at least 2 weeks. This is so that those who are due the second round of the Pfizer vaccine will be able to get theirs, and we should be receiving new stock of vaccines so that we can carry on being the vaccination nation that we have become. And the name that is given to this is Operation Give a Shoulder. Meanwhile, while we are still vaccinating, we still see high levels of COVID-19. In fact, it was reported in the press today that the ultra-Orthodox community account for at least a quarter of the infections at the moment. And the health ministry has said that due to the dire numbers, they will be pushing for a full and complete lockdown. A lot of criticism leveled at the health ministry over the last couple of days, many saying they're not serious about the lockdown. There still are people going to the beaches, mulling around on the boardwalks, going out, and that they haven't been taking this lockdown seriously, and that is why the numbers are inclining. But let's see what decisions the health ministry make within the next couple of days. Benny Gantz, our defense minister, saying that he is not in favor of closing schools. So we can bet that the Corona Cabinet will be meeting shortly to discuss the way forward. But many of you might have seen on social media and also in publications like The Guardian, or at least their weekend publication, The Observer, and on MSNBC, the accusation that while Israel is vaccinating our citizens, all of our citizens, we are not vaccinating Palestinians. In fact, one of the accusations made by The Guardian was that the Israeli authorities are vaccinating settlers but not Palestinians. So let's make a few things very, very clear. First of all, Israel and the Palestinians are separate entities. When we talk about vaccinating all our citizens, we include Arab Israelis who are not Palestinians. Palestinians fall under the government of Hamas in the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. Now, according to the Oslo Accords, which were signed decades ago, the Palestinian Authority are responsible for the healthcare of their citizens, including vaccinations. And the Palestinian Health Ministry are on record as saying that they have not requested any vaccination help from the Israeli authorities. They have their own health ministry and their own defense ministry. That's their words. That's the words of the Palestinian Health Ministry. And neither do they intend on asking Israel for help. On Israel's side, Israel has said that they have not been asked for help by the Palestinians and they will not refuse help to the Palestinians. So any writers from The Guardian out there, please pay attention to this. It was announced by the Palestinian Health Ministry last night that they had procured their own vaccines, likely from Russia, and will be receiving them within the next couple of weeks. So I hope this makes any misconceptions very, very clear. And for those of you who are seeing, especially on Twitter, the accusations, which some have called a modern-day blood libel, blaming Israel for not vaccinating Palestinians, please set the record straight. And our final story, while we are talking about Arab Israelis and Palestinians, takes us to the IDF. And in the last year, it has been reported that there has been a record amount of Arab Israelis signing up or conscripting to the IDF. Now, this is quite extraordinary because conscription is not compulsory for members of the Arab Israeli population for a variety of different reasons, and none of them discriminatory. So before anybody jumps up and accuses Israel of being an apartheid state or anything, this is out of sensitivities to some of the issues that they may face in their communities. And to date, over 1,000 new conscripts have signed up over the last year or so, which is making it a record year. So those are the top stories from Israel, but don't forget that you can check out our original content online on our website at www.layoftheland.online. If you are in lockdown like we are in Israel, and hey, this is our lockdown locale, it's also our non-lockdown locale, but hey, we're not keeping score. You can read Dave Kaplan's article on the IDC, yes, the college in Herzliya, how they turned the pandemic from challenge into opportunity. And also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our Facebook page by giving us a like or a follow. We are rapidly growing our community there, and we would love you to be a part of that. You know where to find us on YouTube at The Israel Brief, and click on that big red subscribe button. And also follow us on Twitter. Join us for some of the fun that we are having, and you can find us at Lay of the Land with the digit 5. So with the Monday edition of the Israel Brief, I'm Rolene Marks, wishing you good health, and we'll chat again tomorrow.